House Democrats have released their two-year operating budget proposal. Can you tell us what it looks like?
Well, first of all, it spends a lot more than the last budget has. As a matter of fact, it's a $5 billion increase in spending. Last time we had a $34 billion budget. This time we're looking at $39 billion. And while it does increase some spending to K through 12 by about $628 million, and it even freezes tuition for our state colleges, which I think is great, I think there's still some big problems we need to be concerned about.
What are your concerns about this budget proposal?
Bottom line, it spends more money than the state is going to be expected to take in. You know, you and I have to live within our budgets. We can't just go out and demand a raise from our bosses to pay for our expenses. What's happening here is while we're seeing $3 billion in new cash coming, which is an unprecedented increase in new revenue for us to spend, that's a 9% increase. This budget, as it's going through right now, wants to increase spending by approximately 15%. And that's $1.5 billion in new taxes that every one of us are going to have to pay at the end of the day.
What kind of tax increases are they proposing?
Well, I'm really concerned about several, but a couple in particular. One, there's a 5% capital gains income tax that's specifically focused in on approximately 32,000 Washingtonians in Washington state. However, each one of those individuals, they represent families. Each one of our legislative districts, including the 39th district, represent about 137,000 people. When you take the multiplier of those 32,000 individuals and you put a family attached to them, that's like adding a 5% income tax to every family in my district, and that's way over the top. The other thing that we're going to be dealing with these taxes is that there's talking about closing a lot of tax loopholes to balance this budget. Let me give you some statistics though. The same Democrats that are talking about these evil tax loopholes are the same people that over the 140 tax incentives that have been approved by the legislature since 2005, 120 of those 140 were actually sponsored by these same Democrats. Furthermore, all of these loopholes were also approved by Democrat governors. And so I've got a little concern as to why all of a sudden it's a tax loophole today, at least that's what they're talking about, where in the past it was called a tax incentive. So I've got some concerns there as well.
So what happens from here?
Well, the House budget is going to come to the floor of the House for a vote. It's supposed to happen on Thursday. Once it gets out of here, which I expect is going to be a very partisan vote, then it's going to go off to the Senate. The Senate, well, they're likely to amend this thing because what just came out in public yesterday is they've got a budget that doesn't raise taxes and pays for and in many ways does better spending than the Democrat budget that we're also talking about here in the House. Eventually, you know, once this goes through the House and the Senate, it's going to go into what we call a conference committee, and that's where the final negotiations take place.
Why and how should citizens become involved?
You know, if you are fine with government growing by 15%, by your taxes going up by $1.5 billion over the next couple of years and probably doubling in the following couple of years, then sit back and enjoy what's going on. But I think most of the folks that I've talked to are very concerned that we're spending too much, that we're not spending at the right places. And for Pete's sake, live within your means as we're being asked to do as citizens of the state. I don't believe that Washington state needs to have any tax increases given to them to pay for the things that they want us to do as their legislators. And so I would encourage you to contact us in Olympia. We have a saying down here, and that is called silence is agreement. If you don't agree with what's going on, you need to contact us. You can email us, you can phone call us. Please, for us to represent you well, we need to hear from you, and I look forward to hearing your comments.